Let me tell you guys a little story. When I started out playing drums, I found it difficult to get feedback of other instruments. So most times I'd see the engineer set up speakers on the side or on the floor, so that I'll be able to hear others and the vocalist. But as a consequence of that, I would always get back home with a loud ringing in my ear. And for the longest of time, I thought that was normal, right? Until I learned that I was having tinnitus. Fast forward to 2 years ago, we got this very important device in my church. We had to push for it, but we did. And from then till now, it's been an essential part of my music. Making, listening, producing, and planning. It's been there every step of the way. And even now, I cannot play music without it. So let me tell you a little bit about in-ear monitors and how they work. This is Tech Fridays, and welcome to episode 2. So what are in-ear monitors? Let's get down to it. These are basically audio devices that are fitted with micro speakers, what we call drivers, that are basically used as a feedback for the instrumentalist or the singer. That's it. That's basically it. It replaces the large speaker configuration and the wedges on stage for feedback. And basically you have all of that sound in your ear at a controlled volume. Now, when we talk about in-ear monitors, of course, they just had to go and have different types of it. So we're going to be talking about the types of in-ear monitors, and we can classify them in 3 different ways. We can classify them as wireless and wired in-ear monitors. We can also classify them based on the amount of drivers they have. So single drivers, double drivers, triple drivers, all the way up to 4, 6 drivers. We can also classify them based on general and custom in-ear monitors. Let's start with the wireless and wired. Usually the configuration of a wireless in-ear monitor, so you have the receiver which connects to the mixer or the console for the sound engineer, and you have the receiver which the musician connects the in-ear monitor to. So these 2 receivers communicate with one another at the same frequency, right? Don't forget that, at the same frequency, thereby allowing that. Right, so simply what they do is select a radio frequency. So the same radio frequency for the receiver to the console and the receiver to the in-ear monitor, right? And that's basically the setup of the wireless. The wired in-ear monitor, usually you just have the in-ear monitor itself and a little receiver where you just plug in the cable to. You just plug in the in-ear cable, the in-ear monitor to, and it has a straight cable feeding to the mixer. The difference between the wireless and the wired in-ear monitor is that the receiver for the wired in-ear monitor is directly connected using a cable to the mixer or to the console. Meanwhile, the wire or the receiver for the in-ear monitor has a receiver on ground and one that connects the in-ear monitor and the mixer differently. Next, we have the single unit, double unit, the 4 unit driver configurations. Now, this is basically remember what I told you, that drivers are micro speakers inside the in-ear monitors. So what does this simply mean? It means that there are some in-ear monitors that just have 1 speaker in it or 1 driver in it. There's some that have 2, there's some that have 4, there's some that have 6, right? So it depends on the product, on the make, on the design, on the model of the company. And there are some very common ones that I will tell you later in this video, so stick around for that. Next we have the general and we have the custom. So So what do I mean? The general are the in-ears that you go to the store and they're already pre-made and pre-packaged. You go and buy them off, right? And you test them and you see maybe these work, maybe this don't work. Right? That's basically the configuration for general. Meanwhile, for the custom design, for the custom in-ear monitors, these are tailor-made to a person's ear canal, right? So generally these are much more expensive than the general ones, obviously, because they are tailor-made and it takes a lot of time and there's a lot involved in the process. Meanwhile, the general ones are just, factory built, pumped out and pushed out for mass use, right? If we go back to my story, I told you there was this loud ringing in my ear after every show I played at, or every concert I played at. And this is the first function I noticed about in-ear monitors, that it offers protection from loud noises for the musician. Frankly, I myself, I do not play music now without my in-ear monitor. Whether the concert has what I'm looking for or doesn't, I plug my ears, because I know that if I don't do that, after I leave that venue and have a great show, I'm going back home to a loud ringing in my ear all by myself. So to avoid that, I plug up my ear. Now it provides protection to the ear, and even when the in-ear monitor is not connected for audio feedback, the in-ear monitor alone itself offers noise cancellation, right? Because of the configuration and because of the way it sits in the ear, it offers passive noise cancellation. It blocks out extra sound. All right, another major function that you would note is it offers playback function, offers feedback. Another major function you notice that it offers a feedback function. Basically, you're able to hear yourself and you're able to hear others even better, right? So it has over time replaced the use of wedges and feedback speakers in general for the musicians, because of their position and because of the distance, most times it tends to be loud. So to curb this, the in-ear monitors have been developed and widely available, so to speak. So it provides better feedback than the wedges on stage, dare I say. Another function is better audio quality. Now let me explain. If you're on a stage at a concert, right, you know that maybe the drum is positioned at the center or maybe at the far right or the far left, and the bass beside it and the keyboard on the other end and the lead, different positions, right? And each musician in a traditional setting will require one or two speakers for feedback. So a wedge here, a wedge there. So what tends to happen is that because say the keyboard is on the far end and the drum is on the far end, the monitor feeding the keyboard won't have the same audio quality as the monitor feeding the drums, right? So maybe you can have more of the drums, obviously you have more of the drums for the drum feedback and more of the keys for the keyboard feedback, and so that means that there's a disparity from what the drummer and the keyboardists are hearing, right? They're not hearing the same thing. And meanwhile, with the advent of the in-ear monitor, it provides greater option, right? So this time around, you can choose to hear everybody, you can choose to hear only yourself, you can choose to hear only yourself, the click and the vocalist. So it provides better audio quality, clearer, crispier. Next is communication, and this has been a big one for me. With the advent of the in-ear monitors, it has improved communication on stage between the singers and the musicians, right? So this way they can talk to themselves and they can hear themselves clearly on stage, and we better communicate. They can talk to themselves and hear themselves clearly on stage, and with better communication comes better music in general. So I think this is another bigger function that the in-ear monitor serves. All right, so now you know what an in-ear monitor is, and now you know why you should get an in-ear monitor, because you know the functions of it and how it can greatly improve your music and still protect you health-wise. You would want to get one. And if you would, what are you looking out for? Is the next question. I'm trying to get an in-ear monitor. So let's get into it. First thing you look at is yourself. Let me explain. You need to know what kind of music you're playing, right? Are you a rock artist? Are you more jazz? Are you more right? Why I say this is because I have noticed that different companies have different drivers because of proprietary technology. So what this tends to be is that they have different EQ for their in-ear monitors, right, from the factory. So there are some that tend to be bassier, there's some that tend to be crispier, and some that tend to be on the more mid-tones, So what kind of musicians are you? If you're more of the bassist, you know that, okay, a more bass-heavy in-ear can serve me. If you're more of the drummer, maybe you can look for something a bit more balanced. If you're a singer, So I think you first looking at yourself. What kind of musician am I, and what kind of music do I make? These things will help you determine what in-ear to buy. Next is the rate of use. How often do you use this in-ear monitors is the question, right? So are you somebody that plays once a month? Are you someone that plays maybe 4 times a month? Are you someone that's out on tour every other week? Are you somebody that's booked for the whole month? So you would want to get an in-ear that can serve you and serve you well, and that will not mess up or will not wear out so quickly. So you need to look at that. How often do you use this? So you want to get something sturdier, you want to get something maybe with more drivers or with less. Another thing is the amount of drivers. So up until the another thing is drivers, the amount of drivers or the micro speakers that are in the in-ear monitor. So it is assumed that a 2-driver in-ear configuration is better than a 1-driver in-ear configuration, and so a 4-driver in-ear configuration is better than a 2-driver in-ear configuration. So why is this the case? I think it's important that you understand why this is the case. So when you have a single driver, what that means is that you only have one micro speaker in your in-ear, so every sound is coming in from that one micro speaker. When you have 2, that means you can maybe differentiate between the high end and the low end, and one feeds the high end and one concentrates on the low end. That means you get 2 in-ear, 2 drivers for your in-ear. So that means you have 2 separate speakers trying to give out the best quality of high end and low end frequencies for the in-ear. And so for 4, you can have more EQ options, right? So maybe one is handling the ultra high, one is handling the ultra low, and 2 are handling the mid tones, right? So that is usually how these things work. So the more the drivers, the more the options of EQ and balancing, and the more you can get out of the in-ear. And so you would want to find out, like I said, the more the merrier. So, but that leads me to the very last thing you need to consider, which is price, right? Generally, the more the drivers, the more expensive it becomes. We can have $30. We can have prices ranging from 10,000, 20,000 naira, 35,000 naira, 50,000 naira, 100,000 naira, 300,000, 400,000, up to the millions of naira. So it depends on your budget. It depends, like I said, on who you are. It depends on what you want. So, but I think the price is one of the most important factors. In fact, it is one of the most important factors that they need to consider when getting an in-ear monitor. So just look for what works for you, and make the best out of it. And where can you find some of these in-ear monitors? Okay, you've looked at everything, you're ready to buy. There will definitely be a musical store near you. definitely. And there will definitely be an online store, an online vendor, or someone that you can rebuild all the way from Lagos or from Aba or from Port Harcourt. I mean, I'm sure there's a trusted vendor near you that you can look out for and get your in-ear. Look, I've been rambling on and on, and I'll probably do another video for this particular topic because this has become so dear to me. But I must say, the benefits of an in-ear setup far outweighs the cons. So much you can get out of in-ears, and depending on how well you use it, you can get so much from it for a very long time. Like I told you, I've been using the in-ear monitor. We got it for 8,000 2 years ago, and it still works for me till this day. I mean, one ear is louder than the other, but that's wear and tear. But till this day, it serves me, and it serves me well. So next time we're going to be talking about the setup, how to set up your in-ear monitors. So all the way from your ear down to the mixer, and even incorporating a talkback mic. So we're going to be doing it, and we're going to be having a special guest on the channel. But the next time we're going to be discussing about in-ears. So just wait out for that video. But for now, I hope you enjoyed it. And more importantly, I hope you learned something. I hope you got information. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you have anything to say, to add, please do so. There are people here that would like to learn more. And if you want more of this content, subscribe and click the notification bell so that you'll be reminded every time we upload a new video. My absence have been felt. I'm coming back hot. I'm coming back hot. So let's get it. And until next time.